What's up YouTube, how you doing? This is Mr. Tybox123 and in this video I'm going to be bringing you my full review of this, the 2013 Nexus 7. Welcome back everybody, and I have imported a Nexus 7, the brand new 2013 one from the States, because Google for some reason have decided to only launch this in America on launch and nowhere else in Europe, even though there is obviously a huge market for it. That is absolutely bizarre to me, but for those of you who are in the UK at least, you're going to have to wait until the end of August to pick up the Nexus 7, and it's going to come in £40 more expensive than last year's model at £199 for the 16GB version. Not too sure of the release date for the European-based Nexus 7s, and in the US, obviously this comes in at $229, which is $30 more expensive than last year's model. Now, anyway, into the actual review itself. First off, let's take a look at the build quality and also the design. So this is, like I say, the brand new 2013 Nexus 7. In terms of build quality and design, it's actually changed quite considerably from last year's model. Feels a lot nicer in the hand. It's no longer got that kind of textured back. We've now got this sort of just soft, almost rubbery back to it with the Nexus logo in landscape mode, which is quite interesting. And then we've also got those brand new 2 dual stereo speakers, unfortunately, on the back. However, those stereo speakers are definitely an improvement over what we had before, but still aren't as good as the HTC One speakers or indeed the Nexus 10 speakers. They're still very good, but like I say, nothing spectacular. Now, also we notice on the back we've got that brand new 5 megapixel camera. Unfortunately, the camera on the Nexus 7 is a complete letdown. The actual images and video is totally oversaturated. It's got a real lack of colour depth, and for me would just be totally unusable other than that situation where you've really got no choice but to use this to grab that snap or to grab that video. Very, very disappointing in terms of the rear facing camera. We've still got the standby on-off button on the right hand side and also the volume rocker. What we've also got is the microphone on the top of the Nexus 7, which again indicates that they kind of want you to use this in a landscape mode. As we come around to the front of the Nexus 7, we have now got a very much different looking Nexus 7. The actual side bezels have come in quite considerably, and we've now got these kind of just wide bezels on the top and the bottom of the device if you've got it in portrait mode, or the left and the right as you've got it in landscape mode. Now, although this is completely unaesthetically pleasing, it still gives you a good base to actually put your thumbs or maybe even your fingers or your hands when you're actually holding this in landscape. Otherwise you really would have absolutely nowhere else to put them. Now, you can use the Nexus 7 as a one-handed device depending on what you're doing, but the majority of the time you're going to have to actually hold it in one hand and then use the other hand to navigate or actually use the Nexus 7 itself. Now, another thing on the front of the Nexus 7 is we've still got that front-facing camera. It's not a huge improvement over last year, but you can see a definite improvement there. So for those of you that use it a lot for maybe video calls or even taking self-portraits, there's a little improvement in there for you. Now, the most important and the best upgrade about the Nexus 7 is the brand new 7-inch screen. Now, this is an absolutely gorgeous display. This is an IPS panel, and the actual PPI is 331 due to that 1200 by 1920 pixel display that it's got, and it is an absolutely beautiful display. The viewing angles are absolutely phenomenal. You can literally read this from pretty much any angle that you want to. The brightness is absolutely outstanding, and the clarity and also the way that the colours just produce themselves on the screen really does make this an absolutely beautiful display, and for me is kind of worth it alone just to upgrade to this brand new 2013 Nexus 7. I really can't tell you enough just how good this screen is. It really is absolutely perfect. When you're reading text or when you're actually consuming media, it's just an absolute joy to use and works really, really well regardless of how much light is actually facing onto the screen. I think Google made a really good choice there going with an IPS panel. Now onto performance, and this has got the Snapdragon S4 Pro processor. That's a quad-core 1.5 GHz processor with the Adreno 320 GPU, and performance on the Nexus 7 is very, very good. Obviously this comes standard with Android Jelly Bean 4.3, so the experience that you get is completely native. There's no real lag or any kind of hanging or anything like that. Everything's very, very snappy. Even when you've actually got a whole bunch of different applications open, this thing really does snap around them very, very well indeed. Now when you're playing games on the Nexus 7, it absolutely chews them up for breakfast, no problem whatsoever, and you get a very, very good experience in terms of performance, and also obviously that beautiful, beautiful display that we've got inside the Nexus. One thing they have changed to the negative internally is they've actually reduced the milliamp hour battery that we've got, and we're now down to 3950 milliamp hour. And let's actually talk a little bit about the battery itself. Now, not only has this had an actual performance bump in terms of processor, it's also had a better screen put in, but like I say, the battery has gone down in size, and with all of those things coming into factor, it's definitely decreased the battery life. Now, Google tell you that you can get 9 hours out of this. I've found that with light usage, you can get maybe 8 hours, something like that. With medium to heavy usage, you're definitely looking at maybe 7 to 8 hours. And with heavy usage, you're definitely looking maybe in the 5 to 6 hour mark. So for me personally, this has actually gone down in terms of the longevity of the battery when you're actually using it. And in fact, those are probably quite generous figures from the experience that I've had. Anyway, on to my final opinion. Now, first up, if you've got the old 2012 Nexus 7, is this worth the upgrade? For me, you guys know I absolutely love good screens, and this one really is one of the best that I've ever used, especially with that pixel density and that IPS panel. And for me, like I say, that is worth the upgrade alone. If you were to sell your old Nexus 7 and then put in the difference, I definitely don't think you'll be disappointed with the new features and functionality and hardware that you get with this brand new Nexus 7. Now, in terms of buying a tablet for the first time, is this a good one to pick? If you're looking for a tablet with this particular form factor, it really comes down to a whole bunch of Android tablets, which I definitely could never recommend. The only tablets I would recommend from Android are the Nexus 7 and the Nexus 10 because of that native Google Nexus experience. But the other tablet you've got to compare it to potentially is the iPad mini. Now, I'll probably do a full comparison with the iPad mini, but to sum it up very, very quickly, this is considerably cheaper than the iPad mini. I believe it's actually got probably better specs than the iPad mini as well. The only thing that really kind of differentiates them for me is the actual tablet optimized applications. Now, the Nexus 7 can definitely get away with running the phone-based applications, but it would be a lot better if there were some more tablet-orientated applications out for the Nexus 7 and also especially the Nexus 10. And I think really when you're deciding between the two, that's really what you've got to kind of ask yourself is the actual applications themselves. It's still very, very good on the Nexus 7 because it just about gets away with running the phone-based applications, but I think the iPad does have the slight edge in terms of apps in the fact that you've just got so many tablet optimized apps. But anyway guys, that's up to you to kind of decide that. I definitely would recommend the Nexus 7 for anyone who's going to buy this kind of form factor Android tablet over and above any of the others that exist. But you guys let me know what you think. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. Please do hit that like button for me. It really, really helps me out. And I will see you all in the next video. See ya.